Here it is, the next SPS burn with SCS control. Verb 37, enter, 00, enter. We'll accept the burn targeting uplink. We get ourselves a state vector and the burn target. Verb 37, enter, 00, enter. Now we'll just cruise along to the time which they want us to enter in the program 30. Here we are. Verb 37, enter, 30, enter. 75 hours, 46 minutes, 51.24 seconds. Looks good. Minus 59, plus 200, plus 23.8. Looks good. $163.6 by 96.4. Looks good. And a DVC, which we put in here. 196.8, pretty close to 209.9. Proceed. Proceed. 00, enter. Now we'll cruise right along. This is Apollo 7, of course, so the procedure for this is going to be slightly different because there's a preferred P-52. So the procedure is going to be slightly different than those on later missions, but in Apollo 7, and I believe Apollo 8, you need to go to program 40. And you need to make sure you're not in SCS, or not in CMC Auto. You press proceed. And from there, you do your verb 34, enter, 00, enter. And this is how you get the preferred IMU refs mat without an uplink. Verb 37, enter, 52, enter. Get our preferred option, which is option 1, like so. Proceed. Here's the attitude, no program alarms, good. And let's get out of this mode. Proceed. Okay. Optics 0 switch off and a CMC, and now it's the same as any other. We do need to roll a little bit. Looks good about right here. Star 35 looks good. Okay. That's our P-52 in. And now at this time, we can do our GDC align. And it's good enough. And now, at the time in which they tell us to, we can maneuver to the burn attitude. And because it is a preferred attitude for a burn, most likely, not every time, but most likely, the pad will say all zeros. Verb 62, enter. There we go. Now we get our attitude needles set up. And 5 and all zeros here. So we're cruising right along, and the next step of the burn is usually going to be a P52 IMU realign with the refs mat option, pretty much right before you begin the burn. So exactly the same as the rest of the times we've done burns. So we'll cruise right along to that point in time, and we'll do our P52. And I'll be with you guys after that P52, since we've done several now together, so I think you can get a handle on it, and I'll be back. Okay, we're back after that P52. Now it's the same procedures as the rest of the burns so far. We do our lamp test. Looks good. Now we set in the delta V compensated, 196.8. Back to delta V. And we get everything set up for the burn. Verb 48, enter. 11102, and then use your highest quad for roll. For us, that's AC, so 11111. Checklist will most likely tell you 01111. It's just a prediction. It's a recommendation and a prediction for which one would have the highest at that time, but it could not reflect the actual RCS depending on how you've been maneuvering. So whichever one you choose should be the highest always. Now our weight is WGT plus 31432. Enter. And this might change up because computer reasons, computer science-y reasons. And our trim minus 00076. Enter. Minus 00032. Enter. Again, that might change because computer science reasons that I don't want to get into because it would take a really long time to explain. And 75, 46, 51. So here at this point, we'll maneuver to our burn attitude. Verb 49, 25. And our burn attitude is all zero, so proceed. And now we need to come down to 15 minutes prior to the burn. So 46 minus 15 is roughly 31. Roughly 32 is a 51.24. So we'll take it to 31, 51.24. Here we go, 31. 51. Okay. Optics 0 switch off to CMC. Enter. Verb 41. Noun 91. Enter. And now we'll enter in the sextant star check angles. So plus 35861. Enter. Plus 29819. Enter. We can see this is exactly the same as before, and we should see sextant star 30 anywhere in the scanning, or anywhere in the sextant, and almost centered on the scanning telescope, and we can see that that is correct. So we'll recenter our optics out on the computer. So next time we do a P52, it doesn't drive to this attitude. And now we'll take the 0 switch on, back to manual, and we'll run program 40 now. Verb 37, enter, 40, enter. And we'll verify CMC and auto and proceed to transfer attitude control to program 40. Good. Now we'll need to close our direct ullage circuit breakers and our pitch and yaw SPS motor circuit breakers. Verify everything's set up with the checklist. Translational control power on. We are CSM only. And we can bring it down to 6 minutes now, which is roughly 40 minutes before, or roughly at time elapsed 40 minutes. Being very careful with the time now because we are on a precision attitude hold, so we don't want to burn through our RCS by skipping time too rapidly. Here we go, 40 minutes and 51 seconds. We'll be at the 6-minute mark. Good. Batteries on. TVC servos on. These down to AC. Attitude 1, rate 2, and SCS. Now we'll bring it down to 5 minutes. Here we go, 5 minutes. Pitch 1, yaw 1. Clockwise, verify no manual thrust vector. Good. Now to CMC. Pitch 2, yaw 2. And we can test out the trim. Looks good. Now set to pad value, so -5, 6, 7, 8, and -3. And verify MTVC control. And we have it. Good. Neutral, and gimbal's back to 0. AC/DC, direct on. Rate 2. Transfer attitude control back to program 40. And back to attitude 1 or rate 2. And now we press enter and let the computer do the gimbal drive test. And trim's loaded. Now from this point on, things start to differ just a little bit. FDAI scale 5.5. At 2 minutes, we're actually going to arm both systems. This is because we're flying Apollo 7. If it was any other later, we would be System 1, and then, or System A, and then System B. One, then the other after ignition. But because this is Apollo 7, our SCS burn is with both banks on. So, 2 minutes. Arm both banks. And when you get to the 1 minute mark, we're going to go SCS. Now, keep in mind,
Translation.
we need translation on. And the reason is because even though we have no ullage scheduled for this burn, the SCS system thrust on button will only ignite the engine if it detects ullage thrust. Keep that in mind. You can do it with the direct ullage button as well, but it's easier, with just one mouse. You essentially have one finger to just do your ullage with the jets normally and use the thrust on button. But you could also click and do that shift method to hold this down and then thrust on, but then you'll be wasting fuel because this will be stuck in and you'll have to unclick it. Just do it with the regular method. So here we are T minus 1 minute. We go SCS. SCS TVC auto. And now we wait. Notice how it didn't have us go to rate high at all for the burn. That's done for a reason. At 35 seconds, Disky blank. 30 seconds, EMS normal.
Rotation. Translation.
Here we need, if I remember correctly, it is 5 seconds of ullage is the minimum for the SCS thrust on button to work. So right at 5 seconds, we'll begin our ullage. Hitting proceed and thrust on. There we go. Rate to high now. We can see SCS brings it in perfectly. And we also get the automatic engine cutoff while on SCS as well. This is very nice. At some point in the future, we'll have to do a manual burn, which is going to be pretty crazy. So our thrust switch is off now. Closing the guards will also disarm the switches. Gimbal motor is off. Attitude deadband max. Rate down to low. At this point, we could take PCM bit rate to high, and it wants to do that most likely for the PIPA counters. TVC servos off. Main bus batteries off. Proceed. And we can see, while in SCS, we do get a little bit more residuals.
Translation.
So it looks like X, Y, it looks like we need to come to the right 2 feet per second. And up 1 foot per second. And then aft 0.4 feet per second, which is just a little tiny bit. And here at this point, you can't really null it out any better than any other burn. Or you can't really null these out in the command module because the PIPA counters count every 0.2 instead of 0.1 like the lunar module. So if you ever get down to this, just leave it as is.
Rotation.
Make sure you go back to rotation. Don't forget it, or you'll mess yourself up later. Again, safing steps are the same. Pull the circuit breakers that your checklist tells you to. Proceed. Verb 82. Enter. And we check our orbit. 163.9 by 96.9. It's really close to the predicted burn, so that's good. 0, 0, enter. And now we maintain burn attitude for 10 minutes. So here we'll maintain it. And this is just for the slosh dampening test. It's nothing to do with the actual safing procedures at all. This is just part of the slosh damp test. Ah, this is probably why they wanted PCM bitrate so that they could get this telemetry good. Yes, that's right. Five. 56. 57. 58. 59. And there's our 10 minutes. All right, and that's all. Thanks for watching.